Yeah, there it is. It's almost time to go. So in the recent releases of Predator movies, which one is your favorite? Well, not out of the recent, but like out of all of them. What do you think's the best Predator of all time?
The first one.
First one.
I mean, the first one's classic.
And then what?
2 is good, but 2 is just kind of schlocky. It was a product of the 80s.
Yeah, 2 was like Danny Glover chasing down bad guys and then leads to the Predators and they give them the pistol from the 1700s.
I liked the one with Adrian Brody.
You know, that one gets a lot of hate, but I think that was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was a nice take on it.
I agree.
It just had a couple of kind of like actors that I wasn't like, I'm not feeling you in that role.
Wasn't Forrest Whitaker in that movie?
Nope, it was Lawrence Fishburne.
I don't know, I thought it was Forrest Whitaker.
His part was just so understated. Like, he was like this big, like, bad dude, and then in like 2 seconds and he's gone. You know?
And the first AVP was pretty good.
I liked the second one better, and a lot of people hated that second one, which I get why. It was a lot more horror movie kind of thing. But
did you watch the new one, the Predators?
No, because I read up about it, and like, everything I read about it was
bad.
like, I felt like I was setting myself up for a Riddick sequel.
And you
it was
were.
going to be that bad, and I didn't want to ruin it.
The Predator fights though were awesome. Like the fight between the 2 Predators was cool, but
the human element stuff all sounded really cool.
Oh, it was so like, and all they did was cuss the entire movie. Like, that's all they did. It was like every other word was like F this, F this, F this. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, I understand if you put it in for like, if you put it a little bit like in the first Predator, it kind of fit when he was like, yeah, well, I'm ugly. Yeah. I was like, yeah, okay, because he's a grizzled army vet, it makes sense. Or grizzled army, it makes sense.
Or even in the second one where they're in the inner city, they're in Los Angeles.
But this one, it was just like, they would do it when it didn't need call for, like in the new Godzilla movie, same thing.
That's too bad.
So, but...
Well, I guess we've been
chit-chatting long enough.
So let's move this bottle and see what's up.
Oh! Hey, you know us. You know what we do. It's kind of dark. Should I turn the lights on?
No, I think we got these lights back here. Everybody's going to be happy about your festivities here.
Merry Christmas, if we're getting there.
I'm not telling you that.
He barely tells me that, so... But welcome,
no offense.
Welcome to our 3rd Spirits Club video for our Patreon subscribers. We love you guys.
That's right, absolutely.
He even got the SR-71 Blackbird sweatshirt on. Because
we know
today.
There's some folks out there that are real big
there's a person out there
aviation fans
who loves aviation. So it's going to be real exciting for that individual. And I got this from the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Or no, I'm sorry, Herndon, Virginia. It's in Herndon. There's 2 of them. There's one in D.C. with the Natural Museum of History that Smithsonian owns, and they have another one that's the Dulles Air Force base area. So cool stuff. John Dulles, check it out. Spirits Club, 3rd one.
That's
what
right.
we got.
So today, and this is something that I've had before. I've been talking to Rob about it.
Do it,
this is
do it.
Dutch bourbon whiskey, and it's not Dutch because it comes from the Dutch or from Holland or anything like that. No. It's Dutch referencing the Schwarzenegger character from the movie The Predator. And you can see on the label, it's got like the Predator laser guy
and the helicopter,
and it says, "Get to the chopper" at the bottom.
Oh, get to the choppers, do it.
This is a fresh bottle from a different batch than the one I had.
I'm gonna turn the light up a little bit. It looks a little bit dark. I want you guys to be able to see the color of the there we go.
I'm still recovering from a throat thing, so I hope you guys can hear me through all
I
this.
would make an improper joke, but that's not for here nor there. So there
it even has a picture of the Predator mask up on the top there. You see that?
Ooh, I like that. And I'm keeping that bottle when we leave.
Yeah.
When this disperses, because I don't have that one. I got
we're bottle collectors when we have some really good some good bottles. So we're gonna go ahead and pop the cork on this one.
I have some actual Christmas whiskey that was made in Cleveland about 2 years ago.
Take a sniff of that.
Ooh, it's pleasant. It's not like, like a lot of Kentucky bourbons will smack you in the face as soon as you smell it. You're like, whoa, take a nap.
Now, how much do you want to start off? I know you got a little bit of a mixer.
Well, no, I always drink it straight first because I want to get that straight taste. Give me about that. This way it has a little bit of chance to breathe too. Breathing is very important when you're drinking whiskeys. Japanese whiskeys especially. Ooh.
It's good stuff.
You can smell the barrel. In a roundabout way, you can kind of smell the finish.
Yep.
It almost has it almost smells like it has a caramel finish.
Yeah, it's pretty complex. It's Now I'm going to tell you guys this, and we'll see if he can taste it. It's when I read up on it before I drank it. It's supposed to have a bergamot finish on the back end. Bergamot, of course, if anybody's a tea drinker, you know Earl Grey tea. That's the most recognizable. If you've never had Earl Grey tea and you have no idea what I'm talking about, go sniff one. Go find somebody with a tea bag for Earl Grey. You're going to smell the tea bag. Don't be weird like that, but just go buy yourself a box of
because that could be a complete different thing to somebody else.
And you'll get a sense of what that is, and it has that flavor in it. And it surprised me because it really does. I'm sometimes a tea drinker, and I was surprised by just how good it was. But it's got a few levels of complexity in it. This should refresh it for me because I haven't had it in 2-3 months.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Maybe
because I didn't get to have it when he had it. He got it separate. Because we did the Iowa whiskey last week. Last time we did Sexton, which is actually holding the device up to film this. And I asked for that bottle because I think you had one.
Yep. Yeah.
And I like the skeleton on the front. It looks cool.
Yeah.
And then before that, I think our first was the Iowa corn whiskey, wasn't it?
The Iowa was the first one.
So far, that's my least favorite because of the bite that it had. I think we had to add a couple drops of water to that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, in general, I think when we've talked about this before, you want to add a little bit of water to it anyway, just to kind of open it up a little bit. But that's just a couple drops.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And on the back, it's kind of tough for. It says Predator, if you can actually read that. But yeah, it says Predator on the back. So, well, let's get to it. To our Patreon donors.
That's right.
And looks like that guy's still been pushing pencils. A little rough on the back end, not too bad.
A little bit. It's got a sharpness to it.
And sometimes, ooh. Give me a second to collect myself.
It is a little complex, like I said. It kind of runs a couple different things after you taste it.
It'll make your mouth water. Like my mouth is watering. I'm salivating from it.
It's a good whiskey to have with food.
Yeah, I could see that.
If it was a warm day,
like a steak,
and we were out grilling or something like that, grilling up a steak, grilling up something like that.
Good steak.
It's good for that kind of stuff.
Like a steak and potatoes kind of thing.
It's a good eating whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and not so much chasers because it's pretty good. With whiskey, with me when I try it first, I have to get used to it because I've never had this before. So my taste buds have to adjust. So the next drink it'll get smoother as we get drunker. No. So we got some chasers at the store. I'll show you what we got here. I got cinnamon Coke. So
we're not endorsed by Coke.
No, we are not.
In case anybody wonders. I'm trying this orange vanilla because I thought it looked interesting. I'd seen this come up last year. I think I saw it come up that they were making this, and I was like, oh, that looks like kind of like a creamsicle.
The reason I got the cinnamon Coke is because if anybody knows me, they know I was a big fan of the Pepsi Fire. And I don't like Pepsi products. I'm not a Pepsi drinker. I think it's too sweet. But and I'm not talking about too sweet. Woo woo. I'm talking about, and that's a wrestling metaphor if anybody cares. So I don't.
We always have like a billion of them. So if you don't get them, that's okay.
Well, maybe we'll come out with a lexicon for you folks. You can understand where we're going. Oh yeah, that's better. Now, I've had this one other time. When I had it the first time, it was cold. It was in there cooler cold. This one's a little bit warm. I think they just threw these in there today. So actually the cinnamon is really refreshing.
Orange creamsicle. It's like if you added orange to a little bit of cream soda.
It's like eating a cinnamon stick. But the good of a cinnamon stick, not like actually the crunch and probably the cutting through your mouth and the chewing that would take place. Why are you at the dentist? Why are your teeth all messed up? I eat cinnamon sticks. So, but yeah, so far it's got a good. I think I'm going to drive back in, get my second taste here, swish it around a little bit, let it air out. A little bit better on that one. Oh, excuse me. And I don't know if that's because of some of that left over. But the Dutch whiskey will make you salivate a little bit. Like it brings out some of that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Now, if you're wondering where you can get this, because it's like a particular thing. You don't just go to a store and get Edgar brand whiskey, probably. You can get this from... I originally ordered it from Silver Screen Bottling Company. They have a website. I don't know if it's silverscreenbottlingcompany.com. If it's not, just look up Silver Screen Bottling Company. You'll find it. They make a lot of different kinds of whiskeys and bourbons, and they make a vodka and stuff based on Star Trek, based on Predator, based on Fallout, the game series, and which had a little bit of a disaster around that. I've never tried it, but they had a rum based on a Fallout drink called Nuka Cola
rum. But it was Nuka rum, yeah.
And it came in plastic.
But it didn't. The glass bottle was just in a plastic case.
Yeah, but it was in a cheap plastic case that looked novelty. People thought that was going to be the glass bottle.
I don't know. What did the bottle look like? Just a bottle?
Yeah, just a bottle.
Because, see, I'd rather they would have had it in the shape of a Nuka Cola bottle.
Yeah, and that's what people were expecting. It was poor advertising. But this came pretty much as it looked on the website, as expected. I sent them an email asking them, is it plastic or is it glass? Because you got to be specific.
Excuse me.
But they also make a vodka that's based on Star Trek, and they made... I tried to get a Star Trek branded scotch called Montgomery Scotch, based on the engineering officer from the first Star Trek. But they ended up not being able to ship it to me because of issues with the separation of the UK from the EU. From the European Union, which is not all the way through, but it's already affecting their imports and exports, so they weren't able to send it because of different things.
We're not going to get into the...
No, I mean, I don't want to get into the
morality
politics of it.
This and that.
I'm kind of... but I can't really be grumpy about it because it's their part of the world. It's their political thing that they're dealing with. I'm an American over here just being like, I can't get my whiskey. I've got plenty of whiskey to choose from.
Right, and we have states whiskey, too, that we haven't gotten received. I don't know. Figure out your logistics or linguistics. I'm a mess. I'm a diabetic.
But Silver Screen Bottling Company, and then after that, they redirected me because they don't keep the stock through themselves. They go through distributors that are more localized, and they redistributed me to 4whiskeylovers.com, which is where I also tried to order the scotch, and it couldn't come through. But they were able to get me the bottle. If you go there, you can probably still get some of this if you decide you want to try it. This cost me about $40.
With shipping?
With shipping was like $60.
Ooh.
It was high shipping. Alcohol is expensive to ship. If you guys get your alcohol shipped, you already know it's expensive to ship. Speaking of, just as a side, around the time that I was expecting this, we were also expecting, me and my partner Patty, we were expecting a case of wine, like 9 bottles of wine. We got one of these vouchers. She went and she got some undergarments or something from, I don't know, Lane Bryant or some store. And
I don't know about ladies' undergarments.
But they gave her, she got a voucher card for a website called nakedwines.com. And the voucher's only good once. If you sign up for it, you use the voucher, and then you're signed up. And then if you get another voucher, you're already signed up. You can't use another one. So they get you once to try to keep you getting in. They have a subscription service for wines that you pay into like every month, but we didn't do that. It was a $100 off voucher off of $160. So we got like 9 bottles of wine for $60. And I know he's not a wine.
I'm not.
I don't drink most of it. Most of it's
I like
for
a good Merlot. That's about it, really, because I like that dark.
We got 1 bottle of Merlot. and a bunch of Cabernet Sauvignons, which are close.
All right. Have you had the Merlot yet?
Not yet. I think it's in the fridge now, actually.
Ooh, you got it in the fridge?
Yeah, she likes it chilled.
See, she
likes it chilled.
Much like I like alcohol, not always. Like I would like to try this with ice cubes. Wine, I like to be room temp. I think it brings out the flavor of the grapes a little bit better. Now, some wines, when I was growing up, what we used to do is we used to take me and a buddy of mine. We would take because he would come over late, and liquor stores aren't open late, so he'd get like cheap Kamchatka, Popov, plastic jug vodka, right? And he's right.
That made me kind of be grumpy about my own whiskey right here.
But we would get that, a 2 liter of Volt, and every now and again I would buy a bottle of Passion Fruit Arbor Mist, because what that would do is, so if you've ever had cheap plastic Minute Mart, I don't know if you guys have Minute Marts, but convenience store liquor, unlike Hawaii where you can buy liquor in a convenience store.
Yeah.
You have to, there's like a weird, like, you could tell it's bottom shelf whiskey or bottom shelf vodka. It's just awful. So what the Arbor Mist did was it would cut only passion fruit. None of the other ones ever worked with it. It was only passion fruit. That was the only one that would work. And so what we would do is we would take a big Kool-Aid jug, dump the horrid.
Every time he tells the story, my stomach's just like, whoa.
Dump that first, then the Volt, and then we would dump the Arbor Mist last.
Some kind of jungle juice.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got to make it work, right?
That's like prison alcohol.
And then I started with a wooden spoon, and then we would pour half glasses, and then I put it in the refrigerator. Let it cool down for about a half hour to an hour, because it was rough sipping the lukewarm mess.
I think it was rough. Anything all the way around it. Ugh.
But like I said, though, once you got the passion fruit and cut it, you were good to go. But if you didn't have the passion fruit and you just had the Vault, it still had that like whiskey. This kind of tastes like somebody poured rubbing alcohol into it. But so for some reason the passion fruit would cut it out because it was carbonated. So the carbonation would basically cut out. And the funny thing, like I said, nothing else ever worked. I tried a couple of the other ones, never worked. Passion fruit always did it. And it was, you would get, whew. But let me tell you about a hangover. Let me tell you about a hangover. Because we would stay up till 4 in the morning playing Halo 3. I mean, I'm talking like, he would come over about 11, and he wouldn't leave usually till 3 or 4 in the morning. And we just hang out and play Halo. It was good times. That was back when I was in college, so I didn't have a child, so I was living a little carefree, so to speak. And good times. A lot of hangovers. And then we would try different things. Like we tried a Nikolai vodka once, and it was the worst vodka I've ever had. I was drinking it, and no matter how much you diluted it, because I diluted it with Sprite, I diluted it with Coke, everything I could find, and it still would taste horrid. I ended up dumping half the bottle down the sink. When you dump alcohol down the sink, it's usually really bad. And this was glass bottle alcohol. It was about middle shelf. It was about middle, like maybe, so if there's 5 shelves, it's probably the 3rd shelf, which usually has good liquor in it. 3rd shelf is pretty, you're doing pretty good on the 3rd shelf still.
For a budget.
Yeah.
For a budget.
Yeah. And then another time we got beer. And so there used to be a beer called Arrogant Bastard Ale. Well, they didn't have that. They had another one, Stone Pale. It was Stone Pale IPA. And this is before IPAs were real big. This was like right when they started having more IPAs. So I got that because I liked Arrogant Bastard. And I also like Golden Monkey. But what I didn't realize is the thing with Arrogant Bastard and the thing with Golden Monkey was they were both, when I got them, they were both on tap at a place called the Lime Spider in Akron, Ohio. That hasn't been there for 15 years probably. But they had them on tap. And so it allowed it to breathe. It didn't just sit in the bottle all kind of like with only a little bit to come out. It was a whole glass. And it was good. But I remember drinking it, and it was, man, was it rough. So my buddy ends up getting this stuff called Lion Stout, and has a picture of a lion on the front of it. And I remember he took a drink of it, and he said, "This tastes like soy sauce." So I took a bottle of it, and I took a drink, and I gave him one of mine, and we both tried it. We both tried the other one, and I was like, "Dude, this tastes like straight soy sauce." It was bad. It was bad. The Stone Pale Ale was awful. It was awful too, because I wanted the Arrogant Bastard. The Arrogant Bastard's a good, if they still make it. They used to have Arrogant, and they used to have Double Arrogant. And I've had both. And Double's rough. Double is like drinking Molson Triple X, if anybody's ever had it. It's just really, it's anytime a beer is like 10% alcohol, it's rough, because it's real like thick. And but Arrogant Bastard's good. If they still make it, I haven't seen it in years. It has a gargoyle on the front of it. I think the bottle is your typical like brown beer colored bottle, but I think the label is red. It's been a long time since I've had it. If you ever get a chance, try it. I enjoyed it. I liked it for what it was. Golden Monkey was the other one. It wasn't good in 6-packs. I bought it as a 6-pack, and I spent like $10 on it, because this is, for some reason, IPAs are expensive beers, and it wasn't good. I ended up having to put it in glasses, like beer glasses, and let it kind of air out a little bit. Then it was good. But like drinking out of a bottle was just... And we're beer drinkers. I mean, you think we just drink whiskeys all the time. We're going to change that. I think for the next Spirits Club, we're going to have something, either rum or a certain kind of beer. We need to do it on that Leinenkugel's, or not Leinenkugel's, but the Yingling chocolate stout with the Hershey's chocolate.
As soon as we can find some, yeah. I've been looking for it last time. I know Yingling has that Hershey's chocolate stout that they just came out with, and I'd like to find a case of that. But yeah, that's for the future. If anybody wonders,
we don't just drink whiskey, right? Like people are probably like, all those guys don't drink whiskey. Like
it's Uncanny Spirits Club, not Uncanny Whiskey Club.
Right.
As much as I'm a big whiskey fan,
he's a big whiskey fan.
We do drink different things. We might even try, if we can get some of it, and if we're easy on it, we'll try some of The Rock's tequila.
The Rock has tequila?
He does.
I'm interested.
He had it made in, I think he had it made like in Hawaii even. I don't remember.
What we should try too is Sammy Hagar's Cabo Wabo. I'd like to try that too.
I'm not a tequila fan really all that much. A little bit. I'm not a vodka fan at all.
Now see, what we should try. You may not be a fan of it.
We should still try it. I mean, I'm willing to.
We should get the Skullhead vodka that Dan Aykroyd makes, because I've heard it's really good. I heard they like run it over diamonds or. It's crazy.
I'll have to probably mix that after a swig. I'll take it straight up because I always do.
Will.
But I'll have to take a mix because vodka is just not my
Vodka's
favorite.
not straight. Like
Tequila's iffy.
I can do vodka chilled. If it's goose, I can do like a shot of chilled goose because goose is just so smooth going down. But like years of drinking bottom shelf plastic jug vodka have kind of ruined me. The only vodka I can do straight, and my old man really likes it, is the sour apple Smirnoff vodka, because for some reason apple stuff is usually really, really well done because that apple kind of takes the bite and it leaves you with the crisp apple taste. So the sour apple stuff by Smirnoff is good. I like
vodka is either made from
potatoes
or apples.
And usually apples are the better bet. Because Nikolai was a potato vodka. It came straight from Russia.
Yeah.
And I'm
you can
like,
make it from apples. I'm not sure how the difference
I was like, this tastes like hard times.
Oof.
Me and my friend both tried it, and we just looked at it like, this is... And I kid you not, I kept trying to cut it. I even would dump some of it and then try to like pour more Sprite or whatever we were drinking. I know I didn't mix any Arbor Mist in it because it wasn't... I didn't look at it as bottom shelf. The lower on the shelf the alcohol is, the more it has to get mixed with stuff in order to have a taste. But the higher you go, usually, you don't need a chaser. Now, one that I recommend that I would love to do for a future Spirits Club is Suntory, Toki Suntory. It's a Japanese whiskey. The first shot out of the bottle is rough, like punch in the gut rough. But once the bottle gets to breathe and it's opened up, the smoothness just is phenomenal. Like it has a rough, like it's rougher than a bourbon, but it doesn't stay a bourbon in terms of like a Kentucky bourbon, which I can't stand. I don't know Jack. The one year we got Maker's Mark, and that was just...
The Maker's Mark is good, but it's not something that it's not like a social thing. The Maker's Mark you have on your own, sitting in a big chair when you're kind of brooding.
Yeah, and you got ice. It'd be good with ice.
I should know because that's what I drank over the last month.
And he was brooding in his big chair.
Sure was.
Staring off at things. Because, our good buddy Spider has been through some trials and tribulations over the past 3 months. So I'm going to pour him a little Dutch. And we're going to do a little toast. Man, I like that. The Predator mask is really good on that one.
It's a nice touch.
And I really like the Predator logo that sits on the back there. Because they had to get now what you folks can't see.
Most of their stuff is officially licensed.
Is licensed because it says 2018 20th Century Fox Corporation, all rights reserved. So they had to get permission to make this. Now, if I have one criticism of the bottle, they should have put something on the top. I think that would have been cool. That's me just nitpicking at this point, mind you. But like, what would you like to have seen on the top?
Maybe another picture of the Predator that was on the neck. Maybe just that would have been fine.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
I do like that they went more for simplicity instead of gaudiness. Because sometimes they go over the top with these, like with these themed bottles, and you'll think, oh man, there's just so much stuff on here, and it takes away from wanting to drink anything out of it. But this kept it kind of simple. It's just a label slapped on a pretty solid bottle, too. I mean, the bottle's pretty nice.
Yeah, the bottle's heavy.
He can use this bottle for something else after this, I'm sure. Some bottles you just keep on the shelf, but this is a good, solid bottle you could keep something else in. You could almost use it as a decanter.
Yeah, that's what I was supposed to say. Goes uses it as a so like that. So like that kid earlier. What I do like too is the get to the choppers at the bottom. It's great. The I told you to do it. It wouldn't be a Dutch Predator whiskey without me doing an Arnold impersonation. Right. So on the old Spirits Club. I'm trying to get it to where we can still see it, but our face isn't all. There it is on the official Uncanny Spirits Club. Oh, hold on a second. To the trials and tribulations we went through that made us stronger men.
You can feel it kind of numbs the tongue a little bit too.
Yeah, it does. And man, it really makes you salivate. Like back here in your whatever Dr. Glands these are. I don't know.
Paging Dr. Glenn.
Yes.
Paging Dr. Glenn.
I'm Dr. Glenn. Dr. Glenn Gland. What would you give it on the old spirit meter? If you had to
what was our number rating? Was it 4 to 5? Was it 5s or was it 10s?
I feel like 5s. I think 5s are better to rate than 10s because 10s are like
we didn't rate our the sextons last time.
Let's rate it now. First, the sextant. That was a little rough. What did we rate the Iowa? Wasn't it like a 3?
I think it was a 3.
I think it was a solid 3. I'm gonna rate the sextant the same, a solid 3. It just had too much bite and not enough smoothness to it. Now, granted, we were drinking in a garage when it was cold outside because we had just walking around with Sherry Brake from the Haunted Heartlands tour. I think that's right. The same company.
Yep.
Shouts out to her. We're not sponsored by her or anything like that. Just want to give her a shout out because she was an awesome guest on This Uncanny Earth. I mean, you guys know This Uncanny Earth because you're listening now and you support us. But
I hope so.
It was cold that night.
This video, did you?
If you pirated it, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble.
We're gonna send it after you.
They're going to do it, and it's going to get to you, and you're going to be pushing the pencils. But we want to thank her for letting us accompany her on her tour. It was an amazing tour. It was cold. Yeah. The one thing, and one thing I have to say, though, is why does it have to be so cold? Why can't you just do it in the summertime when it's not so cold?
It was a foreshadowing to today's weather.
Yeah.
Like this week's weather was about as cold or worse.
It was cold.
It got bitter.
And then it snowed.
Ugh, I know.
It felt like January. So I wonder what that's going to hold in store for us come January, February. We'll see. But we want to thank her because it was a good time. It was cold. It was like I wish we would have dressed a little bit warm.
The way that I'm dressed today with like an extra coat and everything, I've got like an extra 2 shirts on underneath here, is how I should have been dressed then if I'd have known it was going to be that.
The way I'm dressed today is not how I should have been dressed because I'm wearing shorts. Because I always wear shorts in my house. Always. But what I did not think about, because, you know, when we interviewed her, we knew that she had a tour that night. Okay? And we did not expect to be allowed to come on the tour. We don't do that. We don't just push ourselves along.
Yeah, we don't show up like this. Hey, are you going on Ghost Tour? Can hitch a ride on your Ghost Tour?
He's not pointing to me.
Hitch a ride on your Ghost Tour?
You thought he was pointing to me, but it's not. He's Bruce Bannering. He's Bruce Banner. Somebody played me the piano. Do, do, do. I don't know how that goes because I don't watch a lot of Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno. But he was not pointing to me, right? He wasn't doing this to me.
Hitchhike.
He was hitchhiking.
Ghost
hunts. So we were taking... I was kind of surprised when she goes, hey, why don't you guys accompany us? So we ended up going across the street to this fantastic little Irish pub kind of bar place.
The barrel room.
The barrel room.
Barrel is kind of a hard room.
Barrow. Bleak Falls Barrow.
Barrel. Yeah, the barrel room.
The barrel
room. The barrel room.
And we sat and had 2 Guinness.
We did.
2 pints of Guinness.
They didn't have it on tap, unfortunately, which is weird. But they had it in cans.
They didn't have it on tap, did they?
No, it was on cans and they poured it.
Very odd for a place that's supposed to be an Irish. Okay,
but they're new.
And they had whiskey tastings.
You have to get a special license from Ireland, from Dublin itself, from like the Guinness people, to pour it on tap. So they might not have gone that far.
And Sherry's actually been there.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually been to the Guinness brewery, and she's told us all about it. Just check her out.
Mm-hmm.
Check her out wherever she's on social media. But a big shout out to her for that. So that was a little recap of where we are with the Sextons. And like I said, I give it a 3 just because of the sheer bite. Mm-hmm. The Dutch, I'm going to give a solid 4. It's going to get a solid 4 from me because, like I said, after the initial taste and then pouring another glass, letting it air out for a little bit, and then drinking it, it smooths out a little bit. But I could do without the pulling of the saliva from the glands. I could do without that part of the whiskey itself. But 4 out of 5, solid whiskey.
So 4 Saint Germains.
4 Saint Germains out of 5 Saint Germains. That's right. Yeah, it's a Saint Germain.
That was our ratings.
System.
Yeah,
that's right. So I give it a 4 Saint Germains. Would I buy it in the future? No. I don't like it enough to want to purchase it. Just because I don't like how it starts like getting your saliva glands going. It'd be good for because it almost like it dries out your mouth.
I had ordered this way back in the beginning of summer and hoped to get it in the summer. So we normally would have been drinking this with grilled food and everything.
Yeah, it'd be good with grilled food.
I think it probably would have.
For sure.
Still would have probably been a 4, but I think that one part of it would have been.
A good meat would go great with this. A good pork chop, a good steak. It would go good with a red meat, or like I said, a pork. Is pork considered a red meat?
No, it's supposed to. It's the other white meat from the commercial.
Oh yeah, duh. Here,
we're from the '90s, and remember the other white meat.
But I think it would go good with a red meat or a pork. I don't think it would go good with a chicken because chicken tends to be a little bit. I can't explain it to you, but I think it would go good with a beef or a pork. Not a fish or a chicken. So yeah, solid 4. 4 Saint Germains out of the 5th Saint Germain. What do you got?
Now the Sextons. Now I've had both of these before, so I kind of have a little bit of a biased opinion. I get the Sextons a lot at home because I really like that peat taste to it. So I gave it 5 Saint Germains.
That is a perfect whiskey for you
because this is like the 4th bottle that I've had.
Okay.
In a pretty quick succession. Like every other month or so, I might be like, oh, I'm going to have Sextons. If I'm looking at the shelves and I'm not sure what to get, I'm going to get a Sextons, where normally it would be something like a Crown or something, which we have plenty of Crown. So I don't feel bad about going with the Crown.
The next Crown we're going to get is going to be the salted caramel, because I'm really interested, because the one thing I like, and I like this with the Pikes Creek, which I love. I've had 2 bottles of that, 3, I think, because you bought over 1, didn't you?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. We got the Sextons, either Pikes Creek or the Sexton last time, because you had the Sexton, and I was like, now I'm like, I wish we had the Pikes Creek, but I'm glad I tried it. Yeah. Because that one's an Irish whiskey. I don't drink a lot of Irish whiskeys. I've had Jameson 1 time. Overrated in my opinion. But yeah, if the Pikes Creek, now that would be a 5 for me, because Pikes Creek it's aged in rum barrels, so it has that kind of rummish taste, if that makes sense to a lot of you folks. I'm a big I like brandies. I like rums. I enjoy, unless they're the Kraken, because the Kraken was too sweet. We got that once. It was super sweet.
I really like the Kraken.
But it was super sweet, though.
It's expensive. You get a little bottle.
But the bottle's
like
cool.
The size of this.
You still have the bottle?
Yeah.
The bottle's cool.
You get a size like this for $10, which sounds like it's a pretty good deal, but this is a pretty good size, pretty little.
Yeah.
As far as alcohol is.
But it's super sweet. It's a rum that, like, if you would have been living back in the pirate times, it tastes like a pirate rum. Super sweet, like sugar cane type stuff.
Yeah. I haven't had Kraken in a while. We
could do that next time if we need to.
Maybe.
The bottle's cool looking.
And you already know ahead of time you might have to mix it.
Yeah, and we could. That would go good with the.
I do mix rum a lot. I mix rum a lot more
so
than I do my whiskey.
I don't drink straight rum. I don't drink straight rum, straight vodka. Now I'll do a shot as soon as I try a shot of it. I'll do that, but I won't drink straight rum, straight vodka, straight gin. Straight gin's no. Gin is
for mixing.
Gin is for mixing.
If
and I like a good gin.
You mix it with a vermouth to make a cocktail,
or you mix it with
something like a whiskey.
A Sprite goes good with gin, believe it or not,
or on its own as a cocktail.
Oh yeah,
that's what gin is good for a cocktail.
One of my favorite mixed drinks is it's a Tom Collins. Tom Collins are the greatest things alive. Just the amount of, because when you drink a gin, you need a citrus counterpart, because citrus goes good with gin. It just pairs well. So you get that refreshing taste. So what I did was one summer I made what's known as a Rob Collins. And what I did was, because it's a Tom Collins, I believe, is gin. Look it up. Google it, because it's been a while. But the ingredient I added was Sprite to give it even more refreshing taste. And I bought a mixer. It was like a cheap plastic mixer. And then I mixed it up, shook it, and it was good. I remember the whole summer of drinking those, man. It was good times. And they're great summer drinks. This is a good winter drink. The Sexton, good winter drinks. Because they kind of warm you up. They get your body going. Summertimes are good for gins, vodkas, rums. Rum's one of those liquors I think goes between winter and summer quite well. Summer more so, but you have to remember, rum comes from the Caribbean. The Caribbean is always nice. So, of course, different liquors made in different places, like Scotch. Scotch is harsh. He's brought Scotch over.
Yeah.
And he was like, you got to cut it with some water. And I'm like, what? So he's like, yeah, I'll take care of it for you. And I remember he's pouring water. I'm like...
Because, see, I don't cut my Scotch or my whiskey usually. I add a couple little drops. Like, I'd be one of those people that would go to a whiskey tasting with the little dropper, the eyedropper. Just a couple of drops of water, open it up, that's it. I don't like to dilute it. But I know his whiskey tasting, so I know you're not going to like this straight up. You're going to want to put some water in it.
Yeah.
Not because you don't want any alcohol, because you just want to spread that flavor out a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I'm a smooth whiskey. That's why I love Canadian whiskeys. Those are my favorite. The Pendleton, now, he felt it tasted like rubbing alcohol, did you say?
Well, every whiskey, a lot of times, most whiskeys have that initial taste I call the kerosene factor, which sounds a lot more menacing than it is. It sounds more insulting.
Yeah, it's not real kerosene.
But it's really not. I don't mean it to be super insulting. It just gives you that burst of kind of straight alcohol, kind of like gasoline taste in your mouth, kerosene. So the Maker's Mark had a little bit of the kerosene factor at the beginning.
See, I don't
most
like
of your
Maker's
Kentucky
Mark.
And most of your United States, like Kentucky bourbons, Tennessee bourbons, stuff like that, has that. That's distinctive. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means they have an initial bit of fire. There's a lot of fire right off the bat.
But the thing with Kentucky bourbons is the fire is still there, and it continues till the last of the bottle. With Canadian whiskeys...
Canadian whiskeys have the least.
Canadian whiskeys is the smoothest of the whiskeys. Because I can drink most any Crown straight, with no chaser. The only one that I couldn't drink straight was, I think, the rye. Or it was either the rye or the black. No, I think the black was super smooth.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
The rye was, it's a mash.
It's a rye.
It's a mash. It's rye and corn mash.
Right. So it was a little bit rough around the edges.
It's a bit unique compared to some of the other stuff we've had. It's not made like most of our other
stuff.
It's
now, the apple was good. The maple was good.
Yeah.
He liked the maple more than I did, but it was still good. We got, funny story, this is when we ate a whole slab of bacon. We got maple Crown.
Yep.
And we got a whole slab of bacon. It was I think the peppercorn. I think is what that was.
Because I brought that over because I had it left over in my fridge.
And we grilled the whole thing. Every single part of that bacon.
And you were worried about it. You were like, hey, are you sure this is still good? I'm like, yeah, it's still fine.
I worry about food. I do. Our camping trip was kind of like that, with food. Cause
it was touch and go sometimes with that cooler. But that's
right. But we had a good time.
Yeah.
That was fun. We had a good time.
And I still ate most of that food like the week after.
And, man, he makes some good breakfasts. The day that we were there, I had to go to Duck. What did it say?
It's getting down to the file.
It just stopped.
It's picking up again.
Right.
It means that it's going to separate the file into two videos, so we're probably going to have to cut short pretty soon here.
We can cut short now.
But
what do you give the Dutch? What do you give the Dutch on the Saint Germain scale?
I'll give it 4 out of 5 because I still like it. I like it a lot. It's not because of it's a little bit more expensive, and I have to go through some hoops to get a hold of it. You have to order it. You can't just go to a store. Brings it down a bit, and it is a little harsher. I like the peat taste of the Sextons better, which is why I got a 5, and I like most Crown stuff, which is really smooth. That's why they usually get into the high 4s.
I'll go 5 for some Crowns.
But the The Dutch, I think, for me, gets a solid 4 because it's still pretty good. I would get it again if I could get it.
Here's the thing: easier. The Dutch tastes like the Predator movie itself. The first one, if that makes any sense, it literally tastes like the first movie.
Go watch the movie.
Go watch it.
Have some of this. You will understand.
Stay uncanny. Thank you for watching the Spirits Club. Get your Saint Germain on.